Going in 10. 3, 2, 1, go.
The message of the week this week is consistency is key. Today we have Justin and Ricky and Hoffer to discuss this. We are going to start with just some quick briefs of how you guys would just brief it in a regular class. Justin, go ahead and start us off.
Oh boy, it kind of depends on the mood that I'm in. But I like to reference our pyramid, acknowledge that that's the base of what we do, and then try to stick to the general script that is sent out to the coaches each week. Try to touch on one of those points. So really, because these messages have been around for, am I talking to you or the camera?
Both?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah. Hey.
I got it. Because they've been around for so long, and like I'm the one that writes them up and like kind of thinks about them. I feel like I kind of just, I don't want to say wing it, but just like I'm an open book. Like, all right, guys, and usually I like kind of peek. Message of the week is, and then just like whatever comes to mind. So, yeah, I try to share a personal experience or something that's like going on in my life right then and there, or something that I just talked to a member about consistency. So try to bring it to the here and now as much as I can.
I would say for me, I think a lot in metaphors. So every time consistency or any of the messages of the week come up, I immediately think of a metaphor that seems relatable, especially with consistency. In my mind, it's almost like pushing a boulder up a hill. You're putting forth effort. It's going to be slow, but it's progressive, right? The moment you stop, it doesn't mean that you're reverting. It just means that it's stagnant, right? But at some point, that weight's going to start pushing you back down the hill. So you have to kind of try to keep that forward motion. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be fast. It just needs to be progressive. So again, when I do messages of the week, I typically try to think of a metaphor, put it in terms that may be digestible for our members, and as well as like it's easier for me to speak to personally.
That was a great metaphor. Love that a lot.
Talk a lot about that.
We could, huh? Yeah.
Hoffer?
Where's the talking stick?
It's over here.
Oh, all right.
I mean, Justin puts in so much effort into the message of the week, and my brain, I can't memorize all that. So I'll literally pull out the phone and just start reading what it is, because it's pretty well worded and it's what needs to be said. And then after that, I'll probably go off with a personal experience or something, or try and relate it to them and what we need to do. So it's not just like a rote thing. And that's usually what I do for most of them. So, and yeah, that's what I do.
Love it.
I
Okay.
like to keep them light and fluffy a little bit too, kind of depending on my audience. Like a lot of these things are straightforward, right? Like we don't need to explain what we mean by consistency is key. Like there's plenty of meat on that bone, so I feel like I'll make a little joke. They often fall flat, but I try.
It usually...
That one didn't. That joke worked.
Okay, so I looked up the definition of consistency, and there was two that kind of resonated with me and aligned with our messages of the week. So the first one is agreement and harmony between actions and words. So behavior matches stated principles. So example, I want to get ring muscle ups, but then maybe that person misses skill days, right? Rather than I want ring muscle ups, so I'm going to make sure skill days are a priority. So consistency with thoughts and words, or words and actions, sorry. And then we have also predictability and reliability. So that is repeated behaviors, things that happen in a predictable and regular way. So for instance, you know so-and-so is going to be at the gym at 6 a.m. every single day, and when they miss, you're like, that's weird, hope they're okay, right? So that's another way that consistency is defined. So I like the actions of the words turning into actions, and then the actions becoming repeated. So based off of agreement and harmony, predictability and reliability, why and how does consistency work? So based off of your words turning into actions and your actions turning into repeated, why does that work? Anyone can feel free to start.
There's a lot of meat on that bone.
There is a lot of meat on that bone.
I really like the predictability characteristic of consistency. When I thought about coming here today to talk about consistency, I had like an intention of taking it a different way, like less about thrusters, deadlifts, and running, and more about building trust. Like that's is a huge part of consistency. And when we can build trust, which for me, predictability builds trust, right? Um, you use the example of someone shows up. I think Ricky's a great example. If it's 3:55 in the afternoon and like Ricky's not in the gym, it's like she's out of town or something's going on, right? So it's like she's very predictable in her, going back to your first definition, in her actions, right? I feel like she doesn't talk a big game of consistency, but she consistently shows up. But I think that a big part of why consistency works is it builds trust, and it's like at least a two-way street in here, building trust with the coach and trust in yourself, right? Like if you are consistently showing up, whether you realize that or not, you're starting to build trust within yourself that like I am someone who goes to the gym consistently. Like right, I make that sacrifice, I make that work into my life. So when you said predictability, that resonates. Just as a coach, I'll kind of give someone a hard time when they are like a 7 a.m.er for a few weeks and then they show up at 6 p.m. I'm like, you're 11 hours late. What are you doing? You know? So okay, that personally kind of throws me off, and it's not a bad thing. That's just like a point of conversation that I'll use with people. But I like predictability, and I think that I don't know when you said that it spoke to me a little bit.
My mind immediately went to the same thing of you were talking from a coach perspective and then you transitioned it to an athlete perspective. And that's immediately where my brain went as someone who does try to remain consistent, whatever that looks like. I'm usually here at 4. Sometimes I'll show up at 6 a.m. Sometimes I'm at 6. It just depends, right, on work, on everything else. But you have to make yourself consistent and you need to come to some sort of agreement with yourself knowing that I want to get better at XYZ, or I just need to get better at eating. I need to get better at drinking water, all of those things. You have to build that consistent behavior in yourself. Then you need to set those expectations of, I'm not going to be 100%, but I need to start building the trust in myself that I can at least do it 70%, right? And then you can build from there. It doesn't have to be 100% as an athlete, as a member, whatever that looks like. You just have to rely on yourself that these are what I want to focus on, and I have to trust myself that I'm going to put forth the effort.
I love that.
Consistency. I mean, the consistency is the way that you're gonna build patterns and systems in order to achieve your goals. So the human body needs like constant breakdown and restore or build up, rest, all that stuff. And if you're not continuing that cycle consistently, you just won't be able to achieve your goals. And I think everybody in the gym has a goal of some sort, and whatever level of fitness. And we know in order to achieve those, you do have to be in the gym regularly, building a good habit of being here so that you can accomplish whatever you want to do. So it's kind of like like in business, you have systems to make things more efficient and have good habits, and anything that happens, you know already what you're gonna do. And it's just like the gym. You know, it's Tuesday and you go in the morning, or you know, whatever day it is, you go at the same time all the time, and it's just like the alarms are set and nothing breaks that down. So you'll be able to achieve goals easier, or you'll be able to achieve them. What I'm trying to say in
Over time. Yeah.
Quicker,
more
Yeah,
efficient.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And like, I want to emphasize, like, consistency is not easy for everybody, and it takes a lot of practice, right? Like, if you are not used to being consistent, and there's a goal that you want and you want to start to be consistent, like, you do have to put in uncomfortable effort at first, right? Like, oh my gosh, the 5 a.m. alarm is going off again. Like, you got to continue it until it becomes a routine, and then that's how consistency builds too. So I love all that.
Isn't it like 23 days or something like that to build a habit.
Yeah, something
21.
like
So
around
it's
that.
gonna take like at least 3 weeks for you to get used to whatever you're trying to do here at the gym.
Right.
Anyways.
Right. Takes
I
time.
think that it's like we're talking about consistency kind of arbitrarily, like again, I'll use Ricky, Miss Erica, as an example. Like her consistency is 5, 6 days a week in here, right? Like, and she mentioned that like you got to build up to that. So for somebody who's just starting, going from 0 to 6 is crazy, right? Like that is gonna break up the routine that they had the week before, right? That's gonna change a whole lot of their life. Not just like how they might feel after a tough workout, but just everyone only gets 24 hours. So if you go from 0 hours in here to all of a sudden 6, and then it takes you 15 to 20 to go back and forth. So that's like 9 hours of your week. All of a sudden you just added that new habit, right? So I think that as people are watching this, I encourage them to consider what does it mean for them to be consistent. I mean, we have 2 levels of membership, right? The part-time, which gets you 12 classes a month, which is an average of 3 a week. So for a lot of the part-timers, it's like 2 to 3 times a week is their target, is their goal, is their consistency, right? For people like Ricky, it's like 5 or 6. Like if things aren't going, if she's controlling some of the things that she can control, if she's in here 2 to 3 days a week, like she's gonna feel like that isn't consistent. On the other side of the coin, if somebody is in here 2 to 3 days a week, they might leave that week feeling like they're crushing it, right? So I think that it's important to, I think an old message of the week or a prior message of the week is not compare yourself, but like your consistency looks different than other people's consistency. So as we're talking about this concept, I think it's important for people to identify what that means for them.
Well, the other side, I mean, for me specifically, I didn't start out doing CrossFit 5, 6 days a week. I was starting out 2 to 3 days a week because my body had no idea what it was getting into, right? There was a lot that I had to adjust and I had to get uncomfortable. And so for a long time, it was part-time. It was 3 days a week. And I would slowly build up over the next couple of years to really get to the point where I was like, okay, I am 4 to 5 days a week now, right? And to be honest, it probably wasn't until maybe a year or 2 ago that I started coming 6 days a week because I felt like I could. That was then my new consistent behavior.
I kind of
So
remember you like all of a sudden showing up on Thursdays.
yeah,
It's like, because I feel like for a while you didn't come Thursday. That
Yeah.
was like your rest day.
yeah. And then I realized those were the days that I needed to come most because hit or miss, it was usually the accessorial days, right? The things that like I wasn't strong at. Handstand walking, ring muscle up practice. And I was like, these are all things that at some point I would like to get, but if I don't go, I'm not getting them. So if I decided to alter the day, I would. But yeah, just speaking of like a personal experience of, yeah, you're never going to start out just 100%.
Right. Right. I also think consistency can change throughout your life. Like what consistency means for you. Like for instance, I kind of was on the opposite side of that coin. I started out doing 6 days a week and 4 extra classes a week. So I was doing 10 workouts a week.
Yeah.
Right. And as I've grown, I've come down from that like a lot, which is also okay. Like I'm still consistent with what makes sense for life right now and
And your goal.
and my goals and all of those things. But yeah, I was looking at the consistency board and like last month was probably the least consistent I've been since beginning. But like obviously last month I was out of town. There was a competition.
Yep.
I was doing another like qualify. Like there was a lot of other things. So like yes, I wasn't consistent in classes, but consistency meant something different for me last month. And it can change month to month. Like next month's gonna be different. So that's just like another side of that coin for sure.
I think one thing I want to share personally, so right now, this is gonna date it. Is it okay?
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay.
But so I'm getting ready for DCC in about a month, and I was telling Samantha that I mostly on any given day, depending on what's going on, I like to be in here for my mental health. Like it turns the buzz down in my head and like the chaos in my mind and body. Like helps me temper my anxiety. So I like to be in here every single day, like emotionally, mentally, that like checks the box. But physically, I know that I do best if I don't do any CrossFit on Sunday, and then I take a rest day and do like a less CrossFit thing, whether that's a walk today, I'm going swimming and not joining the class. But physically, that I know that that's best for me. So there's different reasons why, like you said, your consistency will change month to month, goals to goal, season to season, and it should be rooted in some type of goal, right? Like I think I mean, I think it's good to get in here as much as you can, but like blind consistency is like you should have a reason why. And well, I mean, a lot of people just make it in when they can, but I think I've got kind of two reasons why I try to be consistent.
Love it. Okay, so we're gonna get into another little part of this. But in our awesome thing that Justin writes every week for us to have some guidelines to what we're gonna say, consistency is the common denominator of any successful program or routine. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. There's no overnight successes.
This one goes back to your first definition you talked about, like speak and attitude. But
Words and action.
yeah, words and actions, and I think it's kind of obvious from a coach perspective if someone's like, let's say maybe they just did a benchmark and they did worse, and it's like I go back to the consistency board the last month. It's like, well, like you're not going to get better at things if you're not doing the things, and you could that applies to anything, not just fitness, but especially CrossFit. We're trying to touch so many different things, gymnastics and cardio and weightlifting and and it all together and go fast and go heavy and be skilled. So it takes some time, and that's why I like that quote. That's from Justin Sua. Is little by little, a little bit can become a lot. Like you're not going to be the best snatcher overnight, and most people don't get a ring muscle up on their first attempt. But and if you don't have a chest to bar pull up, you're also not ready to do ring muscle up. So you got to be patient along with being consistent. So I think that maybe patience is a good way that I would summarize that first bullet point.
Love that.
The days that I'm for sure gonna be here are an Olympic lifting day. Surprise! Like when I was here last Tuesday, for sure. I was here again today, Tuesday, and it's just like, for me, that's the fun part. And my relationship with CrossFit, the fun part ebbs and flows. I mean, it's hard. It's hard day in and day out. And when you don't see growth, or if you don't see whatever, like your consistency or your fun can waver. And that could come from whatever goals I have, or whatever. Like right now, my goals, I want to get back into lifting heavy and stuff like that. So that's why you'll see me. But it's always fun for me to lift heavy and do Olympic lifts because I feel like I'm good at those. So I'll come in and be here for that. So whether that gets me in the gym, however often or whatever, my consistency and coming to those days are consistent for me. So does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's fine. So yeah, I can see somebody else, like maybe CrossFit isn't the funnest, but they love to go run. So they're going to go train for a marathon and be consistent with that. We're always going to encourage whatever form of fitness.
I was going to say, I think this is actually, I just immediately thought of a experience for myself. So prior to CrossFit, there was a gym in our basement at my job, my very first job. And they had like boot camps, and I had friends who would go to like Planet Fitness, any of like the Globo gym type things. And I would go and try like random things, and all of them I hated. Now, granted, I wasn't in the best shape, so that didn't help, but like I would sit on the treadmill and I would be like, you can run. I couldn't run. I would never touch a dumbbell because I had no idea what I was doing. I would look like an idiot. Like there's so many things that I didn't like. And it was because I had to force myself to do it. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't enjoy running. I didn't enjoy a lot of cardio, anything like that. So when you talked about do the thing that you're going to enjoy, do the thing that you're going to love. When CrossFit was presented and I tried it out and I saw that I didn't have to think, like I didn't have to do the work, like the workout, I'm told what to do. Perfect. And I was also given instruction on how to modify. I was given all of these options. And that's what I loved the most. And that's why I stuck with it, was because it was exactly what I needed. And I utilize that. Some people use CrossFit as kind of like an addition to or supplement to their main focus. And then other people use CrossFit as their main focus to supplement their life, right? So again, it just goes back to how you utilize it, how you see it beneficial to you. But
Love that.
Yeah, I struggle a little bit with the just do what you like, because that's not CrossFit.
yeah,
That's kind of like the new age CrossFit of like, we'll just make it light and fluffy for everybody. But like, I would say that if you don't like CrossFit, or you're not being consistent with CrossFit, you're not aligned with what we're trying to do in here. We're trying to increase your work capacity across broad time and modal domains. So like early on in CrossFit, it was like the days that you didn't want to show up are the days that are most important for you to show up. That doesn't mean that you're gonna all of a sudden like walk out of the gym being the best 5K runner, but like the needle gets moved the most when you, in terms of increasing your work capacity across broad time and modal domains. So like being able to do lots of stuff, the needle gets moved the furthest when you do the things that you're less good at. Like in the early days of CrossFit, it was like, what can't you do? Do that every single day until you can do it, and then put it on the shelf. And now that's a thing that you can do. Go to the next thing. What can't you do? Practice that. And when I say every single day, I'm not really wrong in terms of like the early days of what we were doing, like when I first started, and just kind of like old school CrossFit mentality. But that was because the messaging and the methodology like wasn't lost. It was at the forefront. And that's the, like Ricky talks about being comfortable, or being comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's a piece of CrossFit. Like it, that's what really changes people's life outside of here. Like I don't like to do office work. Like I procrastinate. Like those are all things that I'm working on. Like there are plenty of things that outside of the gym that I struggle with. And I believe that doing things that I don't want to do daily in the gym sometimes allows me to be a better person outside the gym, right? Of like
Absolutely.
doing those things. So I think that obviously, and I like hesitated if I really wanted to share this, but it's like, of the people that come and go, like I'm gonna say 90% of the people that text us or email us to cancel their membership are people that aren't showing up. So it's like, of course that it's not working, or like, of course that you're not seeing results, or of course you don't want to pay for something that you're not utilizing. It's like very obvious. The people that are showing up every day, like they don't generally wake up the next day and decide that they don't want to, they're going to cancel their membership. Because if you're coming in consistently, like you're going to increase your work capacity across broad time all domains, you will see results. Like I know that to be true. So it's like, it's kind of the writings on the wall. And I tell people all the time, it's like CrossFit, anyone can do CrossFit, and CrossFit's not for everybody. Like it's for the greedy. It's for the people that like want to lift with the lifters and run with the runners and kind of have like a show off level of fitness. Like they're like, what? How old are you? You're almost 40 and you're out like running circles around these kids, you know? Like those are the people that, like, regardless of where that level is, that really thrive in CrossFit, because like we're just kind of brash in our pursuit of fitness. And it's like we don't settle for anything. We just don't settle for anything. Like we want the most out of it. So
For sure. The other cool thing about CrossFit too is we do so much in here that there's a piece that someone likes, right? So it's like, oh, they're like, well, I'm going in to lift heavy, but in order to do that, I also have to do handstand push-ups, which maybe they don't like as much. So they get a little bit of both.
yeah.
And you can sometimes find something you love. Like maybe you love Olympic lifting, but then you start coming more and more and you're like, shoot, I actually really enjoy gymnastics. Like pull-ups are really fun, or this is actually really fun and it's new and I'm getting better at running and so it's fun. Like
The crazy thing is, and I've seen it so many times, countless times over the years, is like someone may want to get better at their Olympic weightlifting, and when they get more apt with, and Hoffer's a bad example because he has all the skills and whatnot, but it's like when someone gets more apt at gymnastics or running, and like they improve that and they come back to weightlifting, like we're increasing the margins of our experience, and like the weightlifting is included in that. So it's like if you're able to build capacity in one area, it often bleeds over into the other. And so like that's the fun part, is like just kind of trusting the program, and not, yeah, everyone's gonna have a preference, like of whether that's their body type or their experience or what they enjoy doing. Everyone's gonna prefer kind of one method, one area of what we do versus the other. And I think it's really important, not just physically, but mentally, to come in on the days that you're like, yeah, nope. Well, ooh, maybe I can sneak in that day, right? Or maybe I can like just accept that I'm going to modify that and do my best, right? I think you'll leave feeling pretty damn good, proud of yourself if you had that thought of like, that's not a day that I like to go, and you went and did your best.
Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about, our next bullet point, is consistency versus intensity, and how consistency at the end of the day trumps intensity. I want to talk about why consistency is more valuable than intensity, because we also do preach intensity and how intensity is where the results come. So let's dive into that just a little bit deeper. You want to start on that?
I'll just be super simple. It's like you can't have intensity if you're not showing up. So like, but like their intensity doesn't exist without consistency. And then the other side of the coin is, and I was gonna say for new people, but I think for anybody who doesn't have a really good stranglehold of what intensity means for them, if they're doing too much and then they can't show up the next couple days, or they get unmotivated because that was like so hard and they got so uncomfortable, like mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever it is, if they push the intensity too far, then consistency is going to take a hit. So I give like a simple example. If you come 2 days a week and you give 100% intensity, that is less. That's 200% intensity. That is less than 3 days a week at 70% intensity. That's 210% intensity. So it's like just a simple math equation.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of that. You can control your consistency. Your bodies most of the time will dictate your intensity, right? Depending on the day, depending on mental circumstances, environmental, all of those things are really going to dictate what your intensity level looks like day in and day out. But you can control the consistency part. You can control whether or not you come in here. If you're coming in, to Justin's point, if you're coming in and you're giving, look, I mean, we hear it all the time as coaches. I'm going to give like 50% effort today. I'm a little beat up. You're like, I'm just glad that you're here because you're here. That's what matters. So the intensity, it's still percentage in the right direction. If you don't show up, you only put in 100% twice a week. Yeah, that means nothing to you, right? So just control the things you can, consistently showing up, and intensity will come dependent on you, like your body, how it feels, how it decides to move that day.
Yeah, it's a little more like the tortoise and the hare type of situation. The person that comes in does a bunch of stuff one week, and then you don't see them for 3 weeks or something like that. Versus the person that's here every day, they might not have their most intensity every day. They're going to have more gains than the person just coming once a month or less, or whatever it is. So yeah, the consistency is, the consistency is still relative, but it's still the same thing of like getting to the gym and whatever in a pattern situation and allow your growth to keep going, versus your intensity, which is just relative to the day, but may make you fade or not if you're not consistent with stuff. So
For sure,
yeah,
I love that.
you can't have intensity without the consistency, I think. Or the intensity doesn't do anything. It's not consistent.
Love that. Yeah, I think it's also important to note here, we talked about this in intensity podcasts, but intensity, high intensity does not mean 100%, right? Like Justin said, if 3 days at 70%, all 3 of those days would still be considered high intensity, which is sustainable. What's not sustainable is coming in, giving yourself 100%, and then you leaving and being like, well, my arms are lactic-y, I can't stand up, I can't, whatever that looks like. It's not, what's the word? it's not realistic to train that way, right? And so coming in and giving high intensity for that day, 3 days a week, or 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 days a week, whatever that looks like consistently, that's where the gains are going to come in, rather than, okay, I'm going to go in and give it 100% on test day, and then I'll see you guys on next week for the next test day.
I'll see you in a month.
Yeah, right.
I think I wanted to say a couple things that, as Ricky was talking, that sparked my mind, but I'd never really thought about this. I think intensity is related to motivation, and consistency is related to discipline. And we talk a lot about like that discipline trumps motivation is going to ebb and flow. I'm motivated in the gym because of DCC coming up, and I like showing up every day, like even when I'm not motivated for a competition or whatnot. It's the discipline that gets me here. And what I often find, the other part of that is if I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go and go through the motions and I'm going 50%. But then like the warm up happens and the blood starts flowing and it's like go through some range of motion and the lovely magic clock starts. Like I generally end up going a little more than 50%. And so that's again, that those little things don't happen if you're not consistent and you're not disciplined to get in here. If you're just waiting to be motivated and for the ball be thrown right down the middle of the strike zone so you can hit a home run, like that's not it's not going to sustain. Like Hoffer said, that person might have an awesome day and like be able to put something on the board that one given day, but over a long period of time, like that hair just crept past the tortoise crept past the hair a little bit. So
For sure. And a lot of times coming in here, like you said, the intensity will kind of just follow without even trying. Like I know, for instance, for me, I have a really fun time when I push high intensity with like the Venus women. So like David, Diego, and Luis.
Yeah.
So like on a day that I come in and I'm like, I feel like crap, I'm gonna give 60%, and then all three of them come in, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fun. And then it's like a fun little race the whole time, right? It's a super friendly competition, but for some reason I just think that's like it's like kind of fun. And so then it pushes you without even knowing it. All you had to do is get in the door.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I tell myself when I'm physically not feeling up to it, I can hear myself saying this in my head. It's like trust the warm up. Like get in there and trust the warm up. And guess what? If the warm up doesn't feel great, then throttle it back and go 50, 60, 70% is totally fine. But generally, if I'm paying attention and I'm not putting my grips on or in the bathroom during the warm up,
Changing clothes.
yeah, generally the warm up will like make me feel way more ready to work out. So that's often something I just tell myself. It's like get in there and trust the warm up.
Great. So now we're going to talk about our last bullet point, which is going to be our values depend on consistency. So we preach our values, which are community, hard work, and accountability. And I actually want to talk about these from the ground up. So we're going to start with accountability. Why do we depend on consistency for accountability?
I'm gonna go last because I always want to say something after they talk anyway.
Okay.
Go if you haven't thought, go ahead. I'm slower.
No, I think you put consistent in front of those words. I am going to consistently hold myself accountable. I am going to consistently be a part of the community. I am going to consistently put in the hard work. You make that a phrase in your mind, right? Something for me is if I'm not consistently holding myself accountable, I'm not moving the needle in the right direction. If I am not consistently getting involved with the community, getting to different classes, coming to the events or anything else, I will feel like an outsider. I will feel as though I'm not a part of the gym, which is the complete opposite of what CrossFit is about. It is about the community. That's what holds you sometimes accountable, right? If I don't show up on a lifting day, you bet your bottom dollar I'm getting a text message from Megan Campbell saying, hey, where the hell were you? And I'm like, got it, my bad. I forgot to tell you I can't come up today. So, and then consistently putting in the hard work. Again, that's kind of in my mind holds you and like links you to the accountability piece, right? Your hard work is what keeps you progressing. Your hard work, it may not be 100%. It may not be your best effort that week or that month, but it's still work put in. And that's all that you can really focus on. Again, control the things that you can. You can control whether or not you decide to come in. You can control whether or not you are a part of the community. You can control your accountability level. So just in my mind, that's all I ever think about is I put it as a phrase in my head. Be consistent in those things each week. I may not be great at it all the time, but put forth that effort.
Yeah, if you have a goal in the gym, it's kind of like if you have like a calendar and you're checking off boxes of the days that you did that thing, or like brushing your teeth, you want to make a good habit. So you're checking that off. The consistency is your accountability, like doing that every day. And we have things here in the gym that are going to help you progress, and whether that's coming to events outside of just class, or being a part, being part of that community, or being here in the gym or whatever. That consistency is your accountability to reach those goals of whatever you're going to do, because you can look back in the calendar and be on the whiteboard, and you can see what's going on, how many times you've been there. You can see if you've hit BRs or whatever, see your progression. And so to be able to look at how many days you've been in the gym, if you're being consistent with that, sometimes you can look back in the month and be like, oh, I did great. And you're like, I came like 4 times. I don't remember doing that or whatever. So like you could think you're doing great, but if you're not being consistent and you look back and you can't be accountable, or you won't be accountable for what you said you were going to do, which goes back to what we first talked about, and then the actions that follow with that. If I set a goal of I want to get ring muscle ups, but every time we do ring muscle ups, I just kind of stand there and look at them, or I don't want to do them, the extra work that comes with them. So there's plenty of people that say I want to be good at them, and there's no accessory work that I see them doing. So it's like being accountable with that and consistently coming to the gym and doing those things is how you be accountable. So yeah.
Love that.
I think I'm not to that.
Yeah. Really? You don't have anything to say? Just
I
kidding.
think that they're all. I don't know if you wanted us to just talk about accountability.
We honestly could just go on all of them.
I went over it,
on all of
sorry.
them. No, it was actually perfect. It was perfect. We can talk about all of them.
I think what Ricky said is powerful. That none of those things, and we say this like, it doesn't matter what you do once; it matters what you do consistently over time. But none of those things are going to be very effective if they're not done consistently. And none of I think the community one stands out the most, right? If you want to be a part of something, and like the thing that of all this talk, and I'm the biggest culprit, I don't know if that's the right word, like I struggle with this the most, but like if someone's not in here, I just imagine them sitting on the couch eating Cheetos. And not like visually, but I just assume that they're not working out, that they're not doing anything else. And like we have a group of 15 or so people that are doing a marathon this weekend that have like been hitting the pavement and putting in work, right? The community thing. So I think that like all of these things that we talk about, we want you to consistently be in here because we want to like have touch points with you and build relationships with you. And I just assume if you're not in here, you're not working out. But you can still be doing fitness outside of here. What you really can't do to some degree, like obviously you can like get together with members outside of classes, but you can't get the most out of the community if you're not consistently showing up, right? So it's like you can work hard, and if you have other goals, you can hold yourself accountable. We can't really hold you accountable if you're not showing up here, but I think the community comes first. The community comes first when it comes to consistency, right? Like the people that get the most out of the community are consistently coming in here, and they're meeting new people, and they're building those relationships, and they're building that rapport, they're building that trust with the people that they see day in and day out. And it's like you're not going to have a relationship with somebody that you've seen 10 times versus 1,000 times. Like it's just the truth. So it's like you gotta keep working on it to like keep building those relationships. So
I have one other thing that I just thought about as he was talking was we were talking about this from the accountability, especially that, like the community part of it from a member standpoint. And if you think of it from kind of putting on like that coach hat a little bit, thank you. Perfect. If you're not consistently holding yourself accountable to bring people into the fold a little bit, like it's a new member, right? If you don't kind of reach out to them and almost like, hey, everyone, welcome this person, and you kind of try to bring them out of their shell a little bit, they're going to feel awkward trying to get into the community. Being social is not people's immediate response for everyone, right? We can't, no, it's not. We're not an Olivia Allen. We're not all like a Megan Campbell, right? Who immediately are like, oh my God, new person, go, right? There are a lot of people that have a difficult time bringing themselves out. And so we can't control the hardware piece, right? That is completely individual. But if you as a coach consistently see someone maybe like pulling themselves back and like hiding out in the corner, and I can name a few people, and there's moments in class you have this opportunity to kind of like make it lighthearted and bring them into the fold a little bit, you're holding yourself accountable to try to bring the community together, because that's also a big part of what we try to do in here. It's not a job, it's not an obligation. It is a desire to make sure that people feel welcome the moment they walk into those doors, and we hold ourselves accountable with that as well.
Absolutely.
I just think the one thing I would say,
Well, new coach hat.
with that, and if you're like a new member or newish member, and you see some of the like strong bonds and relationships that have that are in here, like give yourself some time. Like, I mean, like I said, it's impossible for someone to have I guess it's not impossible. It's really unlikely that if I've interacted with you 10 times that I'm going to have as strong a relationship as 1,000 times, right? Where Ricky's got to become well before that, because we didn't start counting until the 2020. So anyway, it's like, it's unfair to be like, I think that's where people like CrossFit gyms get the clicky thing, right? There's clicks. It's like, of course there's clicks, because there's people that have built relationships years over years over years, and like you just came in here, so like give yourself some time, give yourself some patience on both ends. It's not your fault, it's also not our fault, it's just human nature, right? It's not, you're not gonna have the same feeling when you walk in here as someone like Ricky, because she's been coming for 10 plus years. Like, it's just not, but you can build that, right? So it's kind of a soapbox thing, but I think it's kind of eye-opening when people say it's clicky. It's like, of course there are closer relationships that exist because those people have known each other forever, compared to like, you just got in here, like you got to grease the groove a little bit, give everybody some time.
Right. And a lot of times it's like the newer members just don't know about the things that are going on, like within the cliffs or whatever, right? And sometimes that just needs to be brought to their attention. Like, for instance, this half marathon that we're all running, it was like, I knew someone that liked to run. I was like, you should come do this. And now she's in this group, and she's like, that was the best thing ever. Like, I'm so glad that I found all these women to like run with me. Like, I love running, and I'm so glad that I could do this. So it's just like, sometimes you just don't know what is around.
Yeah.
And so that kind of needs to be brought to your attention.
And a lot of people don't join a CrossFit gym with the idea of building relationships or being a part of this community. Community is the most impossible thing to articulate through words, right? Like, I use the analogy of the coaches meeting is like, no one goes on a hike to get mud on their shoes. Like, they go on the hike to get outside and clear their mind. And people don't come to the gym to really be a part of a community. Like, they come to lose weight, get strong, get fit. But guess what? When you become a part of a CrossFit gym, you become a part of a community. And that's like the mud on the shoes. And that's like, will undoubtedly happen. But guess what? The more you go on those hikes, the more you walk in the gym, the more mud gets on those shoes. And like, the more built into that community you become. Yeah.
Love it. So I think a good way to end is just saying, being consistent, you're going to get the most out of your membership, you will get the most out of the community, and you'll get the most out of your fitness. So consistency is key.
Who won?
For what?
Isn't this a